It's easier than you think. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Toast Hammer. Now, in the past year or so, Games Workshop recently repackaged their Knight Armigers. Instead of just buying one kit for each weapon set, you can now buy one kit and get both. This is a rare value add from Games Workshop, especially at this point in their corporate careers. So we should take full advantage of it while we still can. Luckily, magnetizing the weapon options on these guys is a super easy project. So let's get right into it. I would especially recommend magnetizing these little guys before you try out magnetizing a big knight. Especially if you're building a knight's army, you're going to need both of them anyway, and this is just a great way to dip your feet into the world of magnetization. Now, for most of the building process, you can just follow the instructions as is, without any modification, up to the point where you're actually building out the arms themselves, which would be at the end of this page. Everything up to here is totally just by the book. But let's get into the magnetization itself. The things that you will need are 6 magnets. That's it. There's only 6 of them. You'll need 4 2x6mm magnets and 4 2x3mm magnets. These are neodymium sort of cylindrical magnets that I'm using for this project. I think they're the best suited for it. So let's start doing some modifications. The first point of magnetization is actually not a point of magnetization at all. The kind of upper hull turret gun can just be pressure fit in, and it fits totally fine. It's not going to come loose no matter how hard you shake it. If there's an earthquake in your gaming hall, rest assured, that's not going to be the thing that you're most worried about, but it should stick around for most types of play, especially after you stick some primer on these parts to give it an even tighter seal. So yeah, that's a part that you don't even need to magnetize and you can freely swap out whenever you want. But for the actual arm weapons, this is where we're going to use our magnets. The first modification to make is in the upper arm joint, before we construct the shoulder. You could theoretically do this after you construct the kind of shoulder joint, but it becomes a little bit more unwieldy at that point, so I wouldn't wholly recommend it. What we're going to do is take our hobby saw or X-Acto blade, or even clippers would probably do the job here, and remove the little nub that's supposed to slot into the weapons themselves. After removing that knob, we can sand it to a smooth and level finish, and then we can lay down our first 2x3 magnet. Now, once you have this first magnet in, you can use it as the basis for all of your other magnetizations. Whatever you're doing, you put the magnet you want to attach onto that arm magnet. See how the polarities match and where it's actually attracting, and then you can make a mark with a Sharpie or some other sort of marking implement. A bit of paint would work totally fine here, and you'll know that marked side should always be on the bottom of whatever you're doing. So let's go into an example with some of the gun options here. Now, the reason I chose a 2x6mm magnet, even though its strength is a little bit overkill for this application, is that it slots in perfectly with the actual weapons themselves. It's actually almost the exact same size as the nub that we sawed off, so we're not actually losing any of the construction here. We're just kind of altering it a little bit, and the plastic molding gives a really nice barrier to prevent that magnet from slipping out of place. So what I'm doing is I'm slotting the magnet into that slot where the plastic would usually go, and I'm just applying a dab of super glue to make sure it sticks where it's supposed to and we don't get it tearing through the plastic. It's unlikely that that would happen, but this is just a little bit of insurance. And then we just simply put the other half of the weapon together. That's pretty much it, and you have a magnetized gun. And the key here is to make sure that mark side is on the bottom facing side of the gun. That is the inside that you're not going to see. If you see the marking pointing outwards and you can actually see it once you seal the weapon, it means you kind of did it wrong. Let's hope your plastic glue has not dried too much. And after that, you can see that it will magnetize perfectly fine to the arm. So you just repeat that basically 4 times for every weapon option, and that's how you get your arm weapon set. The only part that's a little bit different is the sword, which actually has 2 points of connection with sort of a wrist joint as well. But you just put the 2 halves of the sword itself together, and then you put in the side of the arm that has the cable attached, feed the cable through the sword first, and then kind of slot that portion of the arm in, then put the magnet in there, and then put the other side of the arm on. And there you go. That's honestly, it's one extra step, but it doesn't really change it from the instructions all that much. Now to get the other arm magnetized, you can take your other 2x3 magnet and put that on the existing arm itself and see where that's going to line up and make your mark as usual. And now this time, unlike the other times, you want to make sure you're seeing that mark after you glue it. Remember, the mark should always be facing downward. And that's fully it. You have a fully magnetized Armiger, and it only took 4 magnets to do. It's honestly one of the easiest magnetization projects I've ever personally done, and it's totally worth doing now that the box has both weapon options sold along with it. I'm not magnetizing any of the armor plates here, even though there are 2 options, because my Night House is a Mechanicus Night House and not an Imperialis Night House. So that is, no matter what weapon option they're doing, they're going to have the same sort of armor plating patterns, because that's just kind of what they do. That's how they do it. Now, one thing I would mention is if you are going to magnetize everything before assembling, do not put the shoulder pads on before you put the arms in. You can still get them in because we magnetized it, so it's a little bit easier to shimmy stuff in there, but it's still a little bit of an awkward fit, and I would recommend actually just leaving the shoulder pads off until you paint it, probably, just so you can get all of those inner sort of mechanical parts fully covered with the paint that you need to do. But that's fully it. And now you have a fully magnetized Armiger, and you can swap it with whatever weapon loadouts you need for the day or for your particular army list, or if there are buffs or nerfs, you're ready for those. And you can even make some illegal Armiger builds. I'm not sure if those will ever be released in a future Night Codex. Hey, who's to say? Chaos gets them, why can't we? But, you know, the option is there for your forbidden Armigers as well. So, super simple build, would highly recommend, especially if you're new to magnetization. And, yeah, that's about it. Be sure to give the video a like if you found this helpful at all, and let me know what your magnetization journey is like in the comments below. If you want to see more on my progressing Knight army that we have now been making some pretty significant progress with, be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss a single video, and hang out in the Toast Hammer Discord, link down below. And hey, share your nights with me and the rest of the community. We don't bite, I promise. And until next time, peace.